Sai Ram. You're listening to Sai Soul 100, a weekly podcast series with soul, or stories of unconditional love, shared by devotees of Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba in celebration of his 100th birthday. We invite you to listen in on these motivational stories of his constant loving presence in devotees' lives. Offered at his lotus feet by the Sri Satya Sai International Organization USA, Mid-Atlantic region. Welcome to Sai Soul 100.
Sai Ram, dear listeners. Welcome to Sai Soul 100. Our guest today is Brother Hemant Wadhwani, who is joining us from Elmwood Park, New Jersey. He'll be sharing his story of how Swami guided him into the path of service and the power of love. Sai Ram, Brother Hemant, thank you for joining us today.
Sai Ram, Sister Piraba, thank you for having us here today.
Thank you. Please share your story.
Sure. Om Sai Ram, everybody. Just a little bit about myself and my journey. Born in New York City, raised in New Jersey, and came from a very spiritual family. Our families were very involved with the first Hindu temples and dharmic centers in the New York, New Jersey area. So spirituality has always been in our genes, in our family, and I would say it's been a journey of love, compassion, service. Watching my parents, watching my grandparents, watching our family members. And so how I got introduced to the Sai fold, it really is, I would say, through osmosis, being born into a spiritual family, but many Sai devotees or Sai centers around the world were run by family members. Indonesia and places like Hong Kong. So whenever we traveled, we always used to meet cousins, relatives who were very strong Sai devotees. And so I would say just by osmosis, being around them, that over the years, just naturally, I evolved into the Sai fold. But I really got more involved after my college years. You know, when I started working, started becoming an entrepreneur, and looking for the right company and friendship and basically how I gravitated towards the Manhattan Sai Center in New York City. At that time, this was about the year 2000 at Sai Devotee's house, Hal Honig, who was very senior and really nurtured the Manhattan Center for many years. But his home was always open to the young adults for meetings. It became a meeting ground, a staging ground for young adults all across New York City. So, just having one or two friends in that fold that used to go to the young adults meetings. One of them randomly said, "Hey, I'm doing Seva, picking up food regularly and dropping off at different homeless shelters. Would you like to join me? Would you like to join me for the young adults meetings?" And that was my first taste into the whole young adult movement, into the whole Sai movement, into the whole Seva movement. And from there, it progressed, Baba always says unity is purity. So we always had a strong sense of unity amongst the young adults at that time. So I think that unity is purity and that friendship and having that good company and association, that further strengthened my involvement in the Sai movement, especially as a young adult. These are your formative years right after college, and having a good group of friends who are still lifelong friends after 20 years today. That was the first seed of Seva with the Sai young adults. What I became most well known for in the community eventually through Swami's grace was a young adult got me involved with a particular Seva in Harlem. It was a Narayan Seva. There were so many challenges, and you could feel Swami's presence and every step of the way. There would be times where in the morning somebody would call out sick or emergency happen, and even all your volunteers, within a 24 hours would say, "I'm not available, not available." But somehow you send out a mass email, and then within 3 hours you have a new cook, 4 or 5 servers that come, and new energy just comes in, and it never failed me. And the power of faith to keep on going and not give up. So you could see Swami's hand in everything, that was going on. So that particular seva really evolved as a partnership, not only with our own side community, but we got it became an experiment of unity of faith. We served outdoor in front of a very well-known Christian church called First Corinthian Baptist Church. And then we used to get people from all walks of life, all around the world, come and serve. There were people in the community that used to just come in and say, "Can we help?" And people from the church community, people just random strangers, and I always had a welcoming feeling. So I said, "Yeah, let's get them involved. Let's get them up." And then today they have become people who live in that community, have become lifelong friends. They call up, they check on you. They were not from the Sai fold. Now they have a deep understanding of Swami. They do greet us even with Sai Ram whenever they meet us. These are disabled veterans. These are ex-prisoners. These are disadvantaged youth. So you can see the power of love, right? So Seva, breaks down all barriers. It breaks down all preconceived notions. And it really is, it's not service to man, it's service to God, as Swami says, right? So we think that we're helping them initially when we start Seva, right? But they're really helping us. They're really uplifting us to see the divinity within ourselves and helping us see the divinity in them too. And all our stereotypes break down, and the communities, they protect you, like, they say Dharma protects those who protect you. So we would be in the worst neighborhoods of Harlem, but then you would see this divine protection of people always coming, people in the community that understand the community. They used to know how to talk to people in the community. I always felt this huge divine protection, whenever we would go into those neighborhoods. Baba says, "Why fear when I am here?" So a lot of love was given by the community. A lot of they saw the love that we were giving, and so it just naturally just raised the vibrations in the community. So it's interesting because some of the stories, they make you understand truth about what's going on in the neighborhoods. Satya is truth. When we do our seva, you begin to understand the truth of what they're going through. They don't have the same family structures that we have. There's a lack of unity in the families. When they come to us in seva, they really are looking at you as their family, and they would look forward to that once. So, we used to do it weekly on a Wednesday. They were really, the volunteers especially, who had no family, used to really look forward in coming. And I began, the self-realization, the divine realization came about that we were their family. We were their only thing that they really look forward to in that week. They looked at me as their only brother or sister. They looked at us as a Seva group, as their family. So we can never underestimate the power of love that we give them, and like how it can really transcend, create a transformation for them, but even a realization that, wow, like, they have no father, they have no brother, they have no, people, but when they come, you are their family, you know? So and we have to hold that sacred. But I really understood that a lot of the folks who were needy, there was no difference in their intellectual level between me and them. The breakdown of community or breakdown of family, has created that lost opportunity. But it really what that transcends to is a loss of self-confidence. So some of the volunteers I used to see that used to have certain skills. There's one disabled veteran, Chris, 20 years religiously came to us every Wednesday. We shared a dosa the first time, and he broke down every single ingredient in that dosa. This was an American gentleman. Then I said, told Chris, "You belong in the kitchen." Every week I just told him, "You belong in the kitchen." And then he started cooking. I gave him that self-confidence. And within 2 years, he became our cook, at the table.
It seems like he came in looking for family. And as a result, you were able to see his talent and his skill sets, and ended up getting self-confidence and a role in this whole entire service, not just as a attendee, but as a active participant in providing the service for others.
Yeah, that's correct. And now he says, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to go out there and cook. I want to like to take that to the next level, you know? Cannot underestimate, our power that we can instill on others and that leadership. When I saw his leadership skills, this was a gentleman, who was a sergeant in the army, who had tremendous leadership skills. I mean, more than 30 years ago. But because of the way the system worked, and you began to understand the system of like when they returned from duty, they were not given benefits, and you started to understand the truth, how homelessness started. These were people that were well trained, and he himself, opened up one day and said, "I was on the streets, I was homeless, I'm here because I was homeless." So you begin to even understand and develop that feeling as well, about the truth of their journeys and then the sacrifice they've had to make. So it's truly a transformation. And this is not the only one. We have an ex-prisoner who was in prison for over 40 years. And day one, when he came out of prison, he began to serve with us. And his name is Otis Johnson, a very well-known figure in the Harlem community. And the reason he began to serve with us because we had a dedicated volunteer within the community, Gary Ashby. And Gary said, I am serving here because when Otis Johnson in prison. So he says he's a father-like figure to me. And I said, interesting. When was the last time you met him? He goes, 9 years ago in prison. So Swami now led me on a journey. I said, would you like to meet him? I said, where is the prison? He said 4.5 hours away from here in upstate New York. Otis used to write to Gary, please do community service, please train the youth, please do this. So since we were the only real presence in that neighborhood that Gary gravitated to represent the ideals, it was on a Sunday, and I brought Gary to meet his mentor. It was the first time I entered a maximum security prison. And what I understood there, this is where truth begins to manifest. All I saw was women and children visiting, their loved ones, and it was 4.5 hours away from New York City. So if someone commits a crime, they have to drive 4.5 hours to see their loved one on the weekend. So you can see the separation of family happening right there. And you can understand why there's a breakdown of morality and dharma, because the family now is broken down. What's interesting about this journey when I went to go see Otis Johnson with Gary in prison, not only did I reconnect him to his source of love and his inspiration, but he also revealed to me I didn't commit the crime that I'm here in prison for 40 years, and so that began even another journey of truth for me. And I got some young adults and lawyers and friends start looking into his case, and we're still documenting his case and understanding his truth to clear his name of his exoneration. So you begin to understand now of the system of what happened at that time in 1975 with the criminal justice system. You begin to understand how prisons work. You begin to understand how the breakdown of family and how unity is so important. Unity in family, unity in community, unity and diversity in friendship. And we have many now Sai young adults who have gravitated toward this story, understanding his truth, wanting to help. We all go to college, we all get degrees, but we don't get that real world experience that we're through people's lives. And really, this is like true education. It's in the journeys of these lives that you really understand truth. And I'll give you another even third example. We have a dyslexic youth that always used to come and serve with us. He came to us at the age of like 14, 15 years old. So his mother brought him there. And then one fine day, he says, my mother passed away. But, I saw this journey of him. Both his parents died young, then his grandmother, then his aunts. They all died young. And it was like I was seeing this journey of this young adult who was not, from the Sai SOUL, but from the community. And then I used to compare his journey and my journey as a young adult, and I'm seeing the hardship that he's gone through, but then always come with a smile at Seva every Wednesday because we were his family, even though he lost so many relatives, and it's lifestyle, it's health, invited me come to my graduation, but what what I what I found is he was not, when he graduated, he was not put in the traditional high school path. He was put in an alternative path. And he's like, and then he always, and again, this is where Swami's words of self-confidence, come about. He always used to have this, like, I'm dyslexic, I'm not good enough, I'm like this. Then one fine day, he came to me and said, I have a real desire. I want to drive. I want to get my driving license.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, and if he's saying, okay, I have this disability, always in his mind, I had this disability, right? It was put into his mind through the system. It was, and then one fine day, simultaneously a friend of mine came to me, who also came to the Seva. Hey, I'm starting a tutoring company. I said, can you do me a favor? Can you, you need clients, you know, we have this young adult who needs to pass the young adult from the Harlem community that needs to pass the driving test, the written test. Can you tutor him? Can you give him the self-confidence to pass this exam? So this was right before COVID, and on his first shot, after maybe 10 tutoring lessons, he passed it on the first shot. So, in flying colors. So, but again, you sit down, give people love, you give them the attention, you help them with that self-confidence, and saying you can pass it. You put it in your mind, and, it just, that feeling of knowing and seeing these examples in real life, how we can change people, but it changes us and our perception. If people tell you they have something wrong with them and they believe it, don't believe it, have somebody work with them, have somebody hold their hand, get them out of that feeling they cannot do, but they can do it, and develop that self-confidence and leadership. There's so many journeys and experiences of through Seva that Swami has taught us, just incorporating the values. There's really a deeper truth in all of it. Like, don't believe all the falsehood that and the stereotypes and things that we're fed into our mind, and we're constantly in the society fed so many things to believe and programmed with media and social media and all. But go into the real world, experience your truth, experience through seva, through love, through devotion, through service, and do it as a young adult. Don't wait. Don't say I'm retired and I want to give time now. Seva is sacrifice. If we can sacrifice 2 hours a month, 12 times a year, that's 24 hours equals one day. And he just always said, if we can find 24 hours in a year, we're giving one day of our life to Seva. And that, as a young adult, we have to minimum give one day in our lives to Seva. Are we meeting that test?
Yeah.
So
that is so beautiful. So Brother Hemant, just really listening to your journey, and the insight that you've developed because of this journey that Swami has blessed you with is actually really inspiring. I've been sitting here listening, and I'm just feeling so touched and inspired and deeply connected to Swami because of the way he's guiding you. And you've kind of mentioned many times that it's really the power of love, and that service does break down barriers, right? And they're not just statements, but they really are true. And you, as a result, made lifelong friends within the young adults community that you originally started this with, as well as the community that you actually serve. And you've gotten a lot more out of it, and many members' stories that you shared, which is really, really powerful. And for people who are not in that setting, to be able to hear it and to recognize there's more to it out there than what we hear in the media or anywhere else. So thank you for being that voice for these folks who really need it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sai Ram, dear listeners, thank you for listening to Sai Soul 100. If you'd like to receive notifications of upcoming Sai Soul 100 stories, please subscribe to Sai Soul 100 channel and click on the bell. You have been listening to Sai Soul 100 with Brother Hemant Wadhwani. I am Prabha Swaminathan. Until next time, Jai Sai Ram.